back to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I really appreciate you guys a lot for subscribing to my YouTube channel. So if you are new to my channel, I'm very welcome. Like I would always say, you're welcome. Yeah. And if you have not unsubscribed, please, I would appreciate if you would hit on the subscribe button. Just you could see it there. Just hit on the subscribe button and then hit the notification bell to get an update whenever I upload a new video. So my online classes for this month are currently, registration is currently going on. So if you're interested, so you could see my number scrolling through the screen, so you could just send me a message on WhatsApp and then I'll give you the details of how it's been done. So guys, and today I'm going to be showing you how to cut and sew this trendy handkerchief gown or asymmetric gown. So you could see the picture up. So it's really it's kind of trendy. I made a skirt of it before. It was a short skirt, handkerchief and skirt, but this one on this video I'm going to be showing you how to cut a full gown, making use of the Ankara and fabrics. So I'm going to be showing you how to cut and sew a trendy handkerchief gown or an asymmetric gown. So that's what we're going to be doing, and it's really quick and fast. So I have my Ankara fabric here. What I have here is actually 6 yards, but I think what I'm going to be making use of it's going to be about 3 yards. That's what I'm going to make use of, 3 yards of this Ankara. So I'm going to cut it out, and then I have my lining also that I'm going to use. So I'm just going to keep on the side and then cut out the amount of fabric that I want to use. The amount of fabric that I'm going to cut out, I'll use, okay, since it is a gown, you see it is divided into two, the upper part and then the down part. So the full length of my gown, the full length of the gown that I'm going to be sewing for this class is going to be about 50 inches. So, and I'm going to use 15 inches for the top part. So the top part that I'm going to cut out now is going to be 15 inches. That's for the top bodice. So I'm just going to fold out my fabric and then cut it out. And in cutting it, I'm going to be making use of my basic my bodice and sloper. So that's what I'll use to cut it out. So I'm going to put this pattern, so I'm going to put it on the description box for you if you want to do this. But if you want to cut it as a bustier, you are free. You can use any pattern of your choice. So I'm just going to do that right now. So I'm going to cut it out now. So I have the back and then the front. So you see the neckline, and I'm going to be using for this, I'm going to be using a high neckline. So we're going to insert the neckline right now. So you could do any neckline of your choice. So I have the back part piece and then the front piece. So from this point like this, I'm just going to measure. I'm going to come to this center point like this. I'll measure out 3 inches and width. That's what I'm going to use, 3 inches width. And then for the depth that I'm going to use about 2 inches depth, since it is a halter neckline. So I'm just going to give it a curve like this. So for the back piece, I'm going to use 1 inch for the back depth. And then I'll still maintain the same width for it. So I'm going to cut it out now. Okay, so for the neckline, I'm going to do a high round neckline. That's what I'm going to do. But I'm not going to be adding a collar like what you have there. I'm not going to add a collar to it. I already have a video of how to do such neckline, that a high neckline with a collar. I already have it on my channel, so I'm going to drop the link also on the description box. You can decide to do that neckline, but mine, I just want a regular high and round neckline, but it's not going to have a collar. So the neckline that I used, so I've already cut it out. I used 3 inches. That's the width that I used. I used 3 inches. So this is my 3 inches width. And then the depth that I'm going to use for this neckline the depth that I'm going to use about 2 inches or 2.5 inches. So I could just increase it with 2.5 because I want it to hold up to my neck collar bones. So I'll use 2.5 inches. That's for the front, and then the back is just 1 inch high. So I'm going to cut it out now. So you see what I have. I'm going to have a very high neckline, but small neckline. So the back piece is just 1 inch. The depth of the back is just 1 inch. So the next thing that I'm going to do now, I'm going to notch the point where I'm going to include my dart. So for the dart, so I'm just going to take it like this. So for the dart, I'm just going to use my regular waist dart. So I'll use my half of my bust span measurement, which is 4 inches. So that's for this. So I'm going to cut out my lining now. So I finished cutting out the lining. So I'm going to go and start stitching them. So once I stitch them together, I'll join the back and the front together, and then I'll come back and cut out the asymmetric handkerchief flare out for you to see, and then we'll join it together. Okay, so guys, so I finished stitching the upper part of my bodice. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to cut the down part of this asymmetric handkerchief flare and dress that I'm going to cut. So I need you to pay so much attention now, because since I'm making use of an Ankara fabric, you know Ankara fabrics usually their length is usually 45 inches. So on one part of my dress I might not be able to get the full length. So I'm going to show you how you are going to achieve this. So in doing this, I'm just going to use my pattern paper to illustrate, to make it clear, so it will be clearer here for you to understand. So you know when you want to cut out flare, you fold your fabric into 4 or your paper into 4. So I folded, and then this is my radius, that's of my flare that I'm about to cut. This is the radius, that's the waist, this is the waist measurement. And then this asymmetric dress, you find that a part of it is longer than usual. So the actual length of the dress, that's the short part of the dress, that's the actual length, and then the tilting part, that's like an extra length that is dropping down. So for instance, now this is my round this is the waist of my dress, or that's the flare, sorry, that I'm about to cut. So I'm going to cut, you know, in your regular handkerchief, all you are going to do when you're cutting regular and 4 square handkerchief, for instance, this place is 5 inches. You're going to measure the same 5 inches here, and then measure the same 5 inches here, and then measure the same 5 inches here, and then you square it, and then you cut out, and then you have the handkerchief. But for this particular case, it is different. So this is how I'm going to cut it now. My actual length, so I'm just going to assume that after minusing the up part of my dress, after minusing the up part, what I have is 5 inches. I'm using this as an illustration so you understand. What I have left is 5 inches. I can have 30 inches, so let's just use 5 inches. So this is my 5 inches now. And then this same 5 inches, you know, normally I'm supposed to measure, like I just said, I'm supposed to measure 5 inches here, and then 5 inches here, like this, and then I'll square them together. So once I get my perfect and square like this, so once I cut out, I'll have my handkerchief. But for this, it's not going to be that. So since this part, that's the short part of my dress is 5 inches, I'm going to leave this part, and then I'm going to return to this part, and then I'm going to measure 5 inches also. This is 5 inches, and then you see this part that is folded, where you have the opening. That's where I'm going to fold the longer part. That's that part that is dropping to the floor. So I'm just going to assume that part that is dropping to the floor, when you measure, I'm going to use like 11 inches now for that part that is dropping to the floor. So you see the folded part, that's the part that is dropping to the floor. So from this part that is dropping to the floor now, here is just what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take my pattern curve like this, and then I'm going to connect it like this to my 5 inches, which is like the actual length of my dress. I'm going to connect it like this, and then I'm going to cut out. So you see what I'm going to have now once I cut out. and then I'll cut this part out also. And then here's what I'm going to have. So at the end of the day, so I'm just going to just give it a little squeeze. So at the end of the day, you see what we're going to have. So you're going to have that drop part of your drop part. You're going to have it like this on your skirt. So you have 2 drop parts here and then 2 drop parts on the back piece. So here's what you're going to have. So this is like the full length of your gown, and then this part is going to be the longer part that is dropping to the floor. So that's just basically what I'm trying to cut. But you know, since this is an Ankara fabric, so I'm going to fold again, but since this is an Ankara fabric, I might not be able to get the full length. I might not be able to get the full length of my blouse, of my gown from this part. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take another piece of Ankara like this, and then I'm going to fold it, and then I'm going to join it to this part, just to get, I'm going to join it to this long part. So let me just fold it this way. I'll take another piece of Ankara, and then I'm going to fold it like this, and then I'm going to join to this part. So once I join to this part now, you see this part is now long. I'll join it to this folded part, not this side. Sorry, that's the open part. That's where I'm going to join it. And then once I join it, I'll be able to have the full length of what I want, because what I want to cut out is about 27 inches. And when I fold like this, I won't be able to get 27 inches from this part. So I just hope you understand what I'm trying to explain to you. So I'll do it on the fabric now, and then I'll still explain more. I hope you get it. Okay guys, so I folded my fabric. So this was what I was talking about the joining. So you see, I joined my Ankara. I joined it on through the entire top part. So I've joined down to increase. So now you see, you know, normally Ankara is, this width is supposed to be 45, but now I have enough. So I added about 20 inches extra to it. So you use your own applicable measurement when doing this part. Okay, I added about 15 inches extra to the top part of my Ankara. So you see what I have here now. So this is the joining. So I just joined it on this. You see the savage part on the top. So I added it to it. So to run through my entire width. So I'm going to fold my fabric now, and then we'll measure out the asymmetric handkerchief. Okay, so my fabric is folded now. So I'm going to measure out the waist, the circumference of my peplum. That's this. For this part, you're going to use your regular peplum and circumference to measure it out. So I'm just going to use my own applicable measurement to measure it out now. So when measuring, make sure you include your zipper allowance for the back. Make sure you include it, and then use your regular peplum circumference. So I'm not just going to deliberate on how to cut a peplum from this part now. I'm deliberating on the handkerchief asymmetric part. So that is that. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to measure the length of my gown. That's the long part, just like I indicated to you. That's this part, which is the full length of the regular length, not the extended length, not the asymmetric length, the regular length of the gown. So you are going to use your applicable measurements. So mine, I'm going to measure 27, because the full length of my gown is actually 42 inches. That's so when I remove this top part, which is 15 inches, the extended part is 15 inches. That's the first one measurement I told you. That's the extended measurement. That's from the shoulder touching down. That's full length is 50 inches, but the short part of the gown is 42 inches. So that's from my shoulder to the short part is 42 inches. So I'm going to mark out 27 inches now. So you see what I have now. So this is my 27 inches. I'm just going to mark it. I'm leaving it here, and then I'll come to this other part, this other side also. I'll mark out the same 27 inches also from this part now. So I'll measure it on this other part, and then this is the folded part that I was talking about. So this folded part now, I'm not going to measure the 27 inches that I'm using on that part. So here's what I'm going to do. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now, from this other part, I'm going to measure the 45 inches. So you know when you add, and that's the longest part, is going to be 45 inches. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going, this is the folded part of my Ankara, that's the open part. That's where I'm going to measure the long part, that part that is touching down from the thumbnail picture. Okay, so from this part now, which is the long part of my gown, I'm now going to slant it to this point, to the other short part of it. So I'm going to use my ruler. I'm going to do something like a back and flip. I really don't want it to be that straight. So here's what I'm trying to do. So here's what I'm doing. So it's going to slant to the longer part, and then this part is the short part. I'm just trying to make you understand it. This part is the short part, and then this side also is the short part. So it's just one side that is long, just like what I did here with the diagram. So I'm going to cut it out now, and then I'll show you. So for this, after measuring, I found that initially, you know, I told you I was going to make use of 3 yards. I've exceeded 3 yards of fabric already. So I'm making use of about 4 yards of fabric. So I'm going to cut out this part now. And here's what I'm going to cut. This other side, I'm not cutting it. The only part I'm going to cut now is this part. And then I'll have my asymmetric handkerchief flay. Okay, so now we're going to open up. So you see what we have. Okay, so I've finished. So I'm going to open it up now. So here's what we're going to have. So you're just going to turn it like this. So you could see our drop. So I'm just going to place it like this in order for you to see. So you see the 4 drops on it. So I hope you're able to see it properly. So when we're done, when I place it on the mannequin, you should be able to see it very well. So for this part now, you're just going to pick. You're going to pick one side. That's from the short side. You're going to pick one side that you're going to open up. That you're going to that is going to be the back. That's where your zip allowance is going to be. And for this, if you want to cut your lining, you're just going to follow the same way. But your lining, the lining that you are going to cut, is not going to be long to the down part. Your lining should just get to about this part, maybe about 5 inches round. So you're just going to cut it round like this. You just place it on top. You fold it into 4 like this. And then you place like this, and then you cut out your lining. Let your lining just be round like this. So that's how you are going to cut out your lining. So the next thing I'm going to do now, go and stitch. I'm going to go and connect the top part and the down part together, and then look out and I'll pick out a sleeve that I'm going to use for it. Okay guys, so I finished stitching the top part. I finished stitching it, joining that's the top bodice to the down bodice. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to cut out the sleeve. So the sleeve that I'm going to cut out, I'm just going to cut out a simple and straight and pencil sleeve. So that's what I'm going to cut out. So I'll make use of my sleeve pattern. I'll drop the link in case you don't know how to cut a straight sleeve. I'll drop the link on the description box so you can use it and then cut out your own straight sleeve. So I'm just going to place it, and then I'll mark, making sure I'm using my round armhole measurement. So I'm just going to cut this out now, fix it, and then come back and show you the finish and final look of our gown. Okay guys, so you could see this is the final look of our asymmetric handkerchief and dress. So you could see the down part. So if you want yours to flow down more, the mannequin is a little bit taller than my measurement. So you can extend it, let it flow on the floor. Other than that, so this is the front part. And then at the end, I made a belt. This is just like a detachable belt. So you could see, so this is the back. Just made a belt. You could tie it anyhow you want to. You can take it to the front, you can take it to the back. So guys, if you find this video helpful, and please hit on the like button to make me know you appreciate what I did. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe and then hit the notification bell. So thank you so much guys. I'll see you in my next video.